In the last 4 days, I closed $34,000 with premium agency clients with one really simple, boring LinkedIn system. And in this video, I'm going to show you completely what this system looks like so you can drive premium clients from LinkedIn on demand in under 90 days. Now, who is this for? This video is for agency owners who are looking to add LinkedIn as a revenue channel. And you've probably done some of the following things, right? You're posting, but you're not getting any clients, right? And what this looks like is for a couple of different reasons. And here's how it's probably showing up for you right now. You're probably posting, but every time you post, it's going to crickets. Like, you're getting no responses on your posts, and every single time you post on LinkedIn, it's like, you're shouting into the void. And the reason why that's the case is you're just basically duct taping a strategy together, which essentially means that you're still no closer to getting new clients. No clients. And this is super frustrating, right? I know, because I've been there. When I first started on LinkedIn, these sorts of results seem to be so far out of whack for me, right? And for the first 6 months of LinkedIn, I barely made anything, right? But over the last 4 years, I've actually closed about 1.3 million in agency sales from LinkedIn. And I found my clients to generate 130 million worth of pipeline, all from LinkedIn. And I've actually built 100 plus founder-led brands to help agency owners specifically to drive predictable pipeline and revenue from LinkedIn. So what is this boring system, you may ask? It's super simple. This boring system is composed of 4 layers, right? 4 layers is all it takes to get predictable revenue to the point, where I literally made $34,000, in that time. That's somebody's fucking yearly salary as it stands. And I can drop the receipts in the chat somewhere here so we can see that if we haven't already dropped that at the start. So here's what it looks like. The first one is positioning. How are you different from everybody else on LinkedIn, right? Is everybody's posting now. The second one is the content layer. Your founder-led content. This is the thing that attracts the right people to you and allows you to get in front of thousands of ideal eyes whenever you post. The third part of this strategy is the outbound layer. LinkedIn now is becoming even more competitive. Everybody's creating content. I'm sure you've seen the AI slop at the moment in the feed. The bar to content is now has never been lower because everybody can create it, right? So the only way that you can really get in front of your clients these days is getting active in the DMs and having an effective outbound sequence to actually get in front of them. Now, the fourth way of getting to that point is once you've actually got those conversations rolling, we want to implement a pre-warmed call process. And that's basically it. Let's dive deeper into what this looks like. So look, when we talk about positioning, everybody overcomplicates it. I remember when I first got going on LinkedIn, and somebody said, it's all about your positioning. I was like, what does that mean? It's just, how are you different, right? How are you, your personal brand and your business different from your competitors? And that's literally it. Now, positioning can be broken down into 3 painfully simple questions. Here's how you can differentiate, and how if somebody came up to you and said, hey, what's your positioning? Your positioning statement will be broken down into these things. Who are you for? For example, for me, I'm for agency owners between 1 to 5 million who are looking to build brands on LinkedIn. Who am I going after? Makes it sound like you're trying to hunt them. I guess we are, but it could just say, who am I trying to attract? The next one is what? What is it I'm going to provide them? It's predictable, founder-led pipeline. Now, I think probably we can put some sort of picture up here of my LinkedIn profile, and you'll see pretty clearly of how I answer the who, founders, and also what I'm providing, founder-led pipeline. Because it needs to be really clear on, what it actually is you're going to give them, right? On LinkedIn or in your marketing messaging. Because you'd be surprised like how few people, like when I look at their profile on their content, I just can't answer like what they're actually going to provide me. This has got to be a benefit because people care about afters. People don't care about, whether you do SEO or whether you do LinkedIn. It's all about the afters. So what is this? What's the next piece look like? The third P of positioning, third P is how. How do you get client results? And many of you, like if you know the guy, Russell Brunson, you might also call this like your unique mechanism, right? What is that IP that you leverage in order to, get them to where they want to go? Now, once you've mapped all of this out, right, this forms the basis of how you are different from other people on LinkedIn. But this isn't where positioning ends. Like your profile has got to answer the who you're going after, who you're for, what you're going to provide them, and how you're going to get them there, right? Every part of your LinkedIn profile should be clear on your 3 Ps of positioning. Your content as well should be clear on your 3 Ps of positioning, so people really know what you are and what you stand for and how you compare to other people. But we can't stop there because, look, like when you're living in a land on LinkedIn where everybody is raffling through the same services, the same opinions, because everybody's really using ChatGPT or Claude, what does that mean? What it means is that it's led to this rise in homogeneity, which means everybody sounds exactly the same as each other. Now, how do I stand out from all of the thousands, the army of 1,000 freelancers and bots? You do exactly the same thing, right? And it comes down to one very simple part of positioning, and it is called your point of view. And I still remember like one of my sales trainers said to me, they were like, hey, like this is just, you need to have a point of view. You need to have a reason. You need to position yourself as authority. You need to be saying something different. Now, like the reason why I say this is anybody can say who they help. Anybody can say, hey, here's the benefit of my service. I'm going to get you predictable LinkedIn pipeline, if we use that as an example, or how I get you there. Like, I don't know, like this system. Anybody can do that. And the POV is where you truly differentiate. And I'm going to show you like at the moment what's fucked up about like the old way of doing this. And this is the way in which you go about building a POV. And it can be broken down into one positioning strategy, which is old way versus new way. And what does this mean exactly? It's like, how do you set yourself against everything in your niche which is wrong versus your unique way of doing things? And all of your content, right, should be ran through this lens. Your profile optimization should be ran through this lens. And this is how, when somebody looks at you, they go, right, that guy actually is very different from other people. It's really, really simple, right? In order to do this, you're simply just gonna do this. You're gonna lock yourself away in a room and you wanna work out the following things. You're gonna answer the question, what's broken about my industry? Everybody's struggling to generate leads. Channels are like having limited effectiveness. People are really struggling to, get in front of their ideal client personas. And like, it just feels like, ads are costing more money. Like there's so many things at the moment for business owners which are just cooked, right? The next one I've got to answer is, what is the reason for this brokenness? The reason why you want to do this is prospects now want to understand, like your ideal clients, they want to understand why their problems exist in the first place. Because if they can understand the root cause of the problem, that's when they know they can actually fix it, right? And for me, it's pretty simple. Like the reason why this problem exists is that we're living in an age now where AI is just causing mass uncertainty in the market. Like email delivery rates are down, it's becoming even easier to spin up ad creatives, which is leading to more people running those campaigns, higher competition. And that's the reason for that brokenness. Now, what we then want to set that against is, this almost forms the old way POV. This is like ultimately what everybody is trying in your niche and ultimately why it's fucked, like why it doesn't work, right? Versus the new way. So you're going to just literally just answer this question, right? It's like, what's the solution? What's the fix? So simple. So for me, in my content, I talk about the following things. I talk about, LinkedIn's a place, where you can get in front of your ideal clients. You can get free impressions, which are targeted towards your right sort of people. I said against the things that are wrong, like rising ad costs. I also talk about, the way in which that people can fix their problem is by actually getting in front of the portion of the people on the market who are actually looking for the services or already like, know, and trust them. People are engaging with their content. So getting them to think differently about the way in which they could solve this problem. And then the final one, once you understand and list out what's the fix, this is ultimately like your new state of play. It's even better if you can map this out as beliefs. What do I mean by that? Beliefs could look like this. Leads through content, already like, know, and trust you. So that is the most effective means of lead gen. It's an opinion, right? It's not like just simply like a how-to, it's an opinion. So you want to list out all those beliefs as it stands. And even better if you can make old way opinions as well. For example, the reason why everybody's getting poor quality leads in the market is just because they're low on trust. That's like a reason for brokenness. So when you map out those as beliefs, then you want to say like, okay, how is my solution architected as the new way? Right. And you're not just going to say my product or my service. And I get this a lot on client calls. I was on a call yesterday with an AI technology founder, and how is my solution architected as the new way? And he went, well, just buy our system. I was like, you can't say that because that's not compelling. So we have to map out what is our unique mechanism. So for mine, it is super simple. First, I get an understanding of, positioning. And then I want to go into how it works. What are the steps to get in there? I want to go through content. You probably see this is like meta. It's like a methodology within a methodology, but you're going to see what this looks like. I get outbound going for the client, and then I and I hand it over. This is my unique mechanism. The boring system is the founder-led sales system. Even better if you can call it something unique to further differentiate your IP. So when you've architected all this, now, right, if you map all of this out, you are now so much different from everybody else that's just selling and saying, hey, look, I sell SEO. Hey, look, I can get you some leads on LinkedIn. Hey, look, hey, do you want to buy some LinkedIn content? Because you're helping your buyer to think differently about their problem, right? And if you get the buyer to think differently about their problem, the reason why it exists, when they think about the problem and they've seen content from you every single day for the last 6 months, they're going to think about you, and then they're going to think about your solution. Effective positioning, how you're different. The next piece of the system, and also the way in which you can double down on POV is when you complete this, I would usually go and put this into one of my agents. I've just recently got Manus the other day, and I've trained it to become almost my content assistant. And that's what I use with clients. As it stands, that's just like an AI agent that allows you to get more leverage on your time. But I would take all of these things that have come from the client, and I would then form that into a positioning document, which essentially just outlines all of those things, but in a way where when we come to create the content, we can feed all of that into an agent like Scribe, for example, or Manus, because that can also create content, in order for it to be really clear. The positioning differentiators are being used on the profile optimization as well. So this, the second layer, right, is content layer. I can make this even more specific. Founder-led content layer from your personal LinkedIn profile. And this is what it looks like, right? And this is what I use to predictably drive 3 to 5 premium clients at 15K per month to my profile whenever I want, every single month. And it comes down to this really simple funnel structure. Good Lord. Let's see if I can map this out in a way that doesn't look absolutely crap. So you can go anywhere from between 3 to 5 posts a week, right? When people tell me, they go, Luke, how much should I post, right? How fast do you want to grow? Every single post is another chance for you to get on goal with your ideal client personas and bring them into your funnel and convert them, right? So I would recommend 5 posts if you're bullish on growth. And this is what it looks like, right? The content can be split up into these following three types. And when you combine all these together, you get the ability to start the right conversations with the right people who already like you and trust you. Now, they're either going to come through inbound, or they're going to like, comment, view your profile, or follow you, and you can start the conversation with there. Then when that comes into the next layer. So we've got this type of content. It's called reach content. This is content that, if we think about this role in a funnel, like you've got in a market, you've got, people who are not problem aware, people who are problem aware, and then you've got consideration. This is ultimately what a buyer is doing before, they reach out to you. Now, for the guys who are not problem aware, how do you get in front of them, right? Because they don't even know that they've got a problem. So that's what reach content is. This allows you to get in front of people outside of your LinkedIn network. It could look like the following things. It could be like, okay, what are the trends that your ideal client persona is currently researching and cares about? So if I'm going after agency owners and I'm making posts around, Manus, agents, Claude trends, this is stuff that's top of mind for them right now, which might not be relevant to my actual system, but at least it gets me in front of them if I view them, right? We could also make discovery content. So some of my best posts that drive hundreds, thousands of impressions, probably see a picture here or something, they're discovery content. I'm relaying something in my niche, which shows the way my brain works, right? But also allows me to get in front of somebody else's audience. So a really effective way of me doing this is founder-led content strategy. I do founder-led tear-down demand gen strategies of how people's funnels work, because then I can get in front of their audience, and it also maps out towards what everybody wants on LinkedIn, which is essentially just getting clients, right? The whole purpose of this is to drive new eyes into my network, right? Because otherwise, we don't want to just get stuck with the people that you've already got, because then you're not going to be able to get in front of net new prospects, and you're going to be potentially continuing to prospect from a pool of just the people that have already seen your stuff. Now, the next post, is authority. Now, the purpose of this sort of content is, as a founder, is how do people know that you are the guy that can help them with the problem they have, to do the thing that they need? Can you help them with their problem? And this is where the guys in the funnel, they start to be more problem aware, right? Or maybe a nuance to this is problem aware seems like a bit of a strange thing for a marketer to say, because maybe I think it's more symptom aware, because a lot of the time, buyers might not know exactly what the problem is, but they definitely know how that symptom shows up in the business. For example, for some of my buyers, they're fed up of literally never knowing when the next client is coming from. Whenever they post, they're not getting leads. They don't know what the actual problem is, but they are aware of the symptoms. So that is what you're going to do. You're going to literally show them that you can solve the symptoms of their problem in content. And it can look like the two posts that work for me the best for this are really, really simple. And it comes down to framework post. This is just me or you, if you're doing this yourself, sharing your IP. You're going to take one problem or a symptom of the problem, you're going to show, and then you're going to solve it, right? And it's going to be a framework. For some examples, how I use my boring LinkedIn system to generate $34,000. See what I did there? This is a middle funnel piece of content. The next one is, you don't want to just get stuck. You leveraging all of these, more intellectual content, because this isn't emotional, but in order for them to really become emotionally convinced, that you could potentially get them as well, which is really there's an emotion meter here from not emotional, getting potentially interested to hot and reaching out. We need contrarian content. This is all about you leveraging those ideas, challenging the beliefs that they had, the old way beliefs, that they believe that, there's no good way to attract good quality clients in 2026 and all of the channels are cooked, versus the new belief, right? Old way versus new way. You can get in front of the right people, but you will need to leverage content to warm the room, and it's all about deep trust, right? And this will be content where you're talking about your opinions, right? You're selling them on your big ideas, those new way points, right? And one of the things about this is this enables them to see you as the person who, could potentially help them to solve their problems as it stands. So the bottom of this as well, like this helps us to get new eyes. This helps us to show how we can help, right? And starts to get them a bit more emotionally bought into why they should like solve the problem itself. Then we've just got this, right? People overcomplicate this on LinkedIn. They never sell. They go, oh, don't want to be too salesy in my content. And then you look at like their bank balance and like it's like cobwebs. There's nothing wrong with selling in content. If you've shoved up and you've given insight, showed them a unique way that you could solve their problem, get them to think differently about their problem, sell, right? So what does it look like? This is all about showing you that you are the partner and expert of choice. And I'm not saying vendor of choice, because vendors are a dime dozen. You are the partner and expert of choice. And what does that look like? It could literally be as simple as, post a client result. Take a fucking screenshot of like your Slack with like somebody going, hey, I got this amazing result. And then just post it. Hey, ex-client came to work with us and they got this. Interested in similar results, reach out. Guys, like people massively overcomplicate this. Hand raiser, right? This is just you making an offer to their audience. To your audience. It's literally something. So mine could look like, hey, I'm looking for 5 CEOs who are looking to build a predictable founder-led pipeline in LinkedIn by Q2. If you're interested in XXXYZ and you've got these challenges, reach out. I'd love to work with you. So simple. People like wonder why they're not getting leads and they've never even asked for business, right? So next, the final one. You're probably going to roll your eyes at this one if you've seen them on LinkedIn, but when you do it right, the lead magnet giveaway post is so OP, it's overpowered, it's over leveraged, because these guys, when they're in consideration at the bottom of the funnel, they're looking for the person who can actually help them to solve their problems, right? And there's certain things that like these guys are going to care about in consideration or even in problem aware. And if you can get it mapped towards something that they're going to think about in their buying process, like how do I do X? Buying objections and answer them in a lead magnet. And then load it with your client results. Crikey, like how hot is a lead if they read an entire fucking lead magnet about you, right? They get to the end and they go, hey, like I think this person can help me with a problem. There's a bit of goodwill built up there. And now they're ready to go. So that's the content layer. Now you're probably thinking like, okay, like what is the dividing of this? Like how many reach posts should I do? How many authority posts should I do? How many sales posts should I do? Right? And it depends, because what is it that, is your focus right now? If you're building more brand, you're going to step on the reach content. You're going to get more followers. You're going to get more engagement. But if you're stepping on leads, then you're going to wait it out with authority content and sales content. So I like this strategy, and I want to make money from LinkedIn. I'm not about being famous. I'm here to make money, like do business, help my clients. 2 reach posts, 2 authority, or if I'm really drilling in hard to like, if I'm drilling in hard to get more opportunities from LinkedIn, I'll go up to 3, and then I'll have 1 sales post. The reason why I only have 1 sales post is that we don't oversell the market as it stands, and people get a little bit jaded if you're pitching to them all the time. So that's the structure. The next layer of how, I generated $34,000 in 4 days from LinkedIn with this boring system. And look, it's outbound. And this might scare a few people. If you've been reliant on referrals, you're like, oh, I don't know about that. We've tried that before with a couple of cold email vendors and we got nothing. Or this used to work for us. Or we tried it on LinkedIn and I've seen those messages from people where people getting pitch slapped. It makes my skin crawl. You're not the only one, right? So it really depends on how we do it. And when you do outbound the right way, because everybody on LinkedIn is creating content, right? And reach has dropped. Reach has now dropped by over 70% in the last year. That means that you're not getting as many inbounds as you could. And if you're new on the platform as well, you're not going to get as much reach anyway. So really the only way that you're going to begin to get these consistent conversations, I generate around 30 to 40 meetings a month that led to that 34K in 4 days. I lean so hard on outbound, but when it's done properly, it is literally a superpower. So here's what the outbound stack looks like. So we've got the first one, right? GTM, fundamentals. And what do I mean by that, right? Go-to-market fundamentals, like the crossover between marketing and sales and how they all join together. You know, how do you get a customer from never having known you to getting them into your funnel as a sales call? And it comes down to like the things, right? Who are we going after? Defining the ideal client persona, doing that research to actually work out which of your services is actually relevant to the person you're going after, right? And also like, what do they care about? What are the critical business issues that these guys care about? Because not like, if you've got multiple ICPs, different people care about different things. VP of sales, for example, cares about top level revenue and operating, like more like, you know, operating profit. And like his team meeting quota versus, you know, a sales manager just cares more about his quota, care about different things. We have to have a really good understanding of them, right? We have to understand, where are they? You know what, it might not be LinkedIn. Like if you've got B2B clients, right? You're an agency owner, more than likely they're going to be on LinkedIn. But fucking check ahead of hand, right? Where do they hang out? It could be LinkedIn, it could be Twitter, it could be Reddit. If they're not on LinkedIn, you can't actually get them up into Sales Navigator search and understand, okay, like check your TAM. It might not be worth like doing this in the first place, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be active, because you've got lurkers, people who are on LinkedIn. The biggest thing is going into Sales Navigator and actually just pulling up and just like understanding like, okay, how many of my ideal client personas are in the market who match the right sort of targeting? So like, that's why it's important to have the right sort of fundamentals. And then what we've also got to do as well is we need to map out intent. It's no longer enough to do ICP targeting. Hey, look, you're a VP of sales. We help companies to drive pipeline. You and 10,000 other agency owners, buddy. Come on, man. 2026 is all about signal-based prospecting using intent. Intent just means, has something happened in their business that you can see that would make that person more likely to be open to a conversation about your service? Do they need your help? And it's different for everybody, right? It's different for everybody. And it could look like the following things. It could look like a funding round. We helped a client go from 10% response rate on LinkedIn up to a 40% response rate, and we can drop it in the chat here. It was a guy called Jonathan, who was a GTM agency owner, just by locking in and just understanding, hey, they've had a funding round, they're more likely to want to spend money and reposition, raise capital. We need to map that out, and we need to understand what it is for you and your business. And so for me, it's funding rounds, are they hiring an outbound or sales team or a content person? Or have they liked, for me, for this is, have they liked and commented on my post? Have they followed me? Are they viewing my profile? Whilst not true intent, at least they're interested enough to check you out, and you won't believe how much leads you can get from this. Again, connecting lovely to the rest of like the previous content layer, because the more effective the content layer is, the more of this you're going to get and the more this works, right? The next piece of this process is warm list. There's some crossover with what I just said. You need to pick a sender, right? You need to pick a sender, because like if you're actually wanting to get serious leverage on your time, you need to use tech. You need to use technology. We use automation on LinkedIn. And I know there's probably somebody going, oh, you should use automation because, LinkedIn doesn't allow. Yeah, look, buddy, you'll get it. You probably wouldn't be watching this video this far if you sort of held that belief in your view. Now, I want to work with serious business owners who value their time, that, they're not sending, DMs to everybody on LinkedIn and like being a high-level CEO and actually like doing that. Like, you don't want that look. And also, if you compare yourself to the person who doesn't use automation and you do, you're going to get way more from your hours. And hours are dollars, and dollars is fucking oxygen in agency land. So take your fucking pick. Take your pick. So it also depends on the way that you want to like integrate as well. Like, you want to pick a tool like Valley, integrates via browser rather than LinkedIn API, a little bit safer. So we're using that to automate the first touch. Then we want to understand, okay, when you've done the fundamentals, we started to get some responses in from our messaging. Well, that was actually another step that I missed, which is writing out the right sort of messaging that aligns, understanding your lead list. We want to understand and get in front of as much as these people as possible. So we're going to divide this into two things. We're going to have cold list which is people that, we're not connected to, and we're going to have the warm list. Maybe this should have been called like lead list creation, but whatever. And Valley allows you to like sort prospects, high, medium, low fit. When we program it correctly in the right ideal client persona, that means my setter can come in and he can go, right, get rid of all the low fits, look at the mediums, look at the highs, and then progress, right? Because that means that you only get a certain amount of bullets on LinkedIn, right? To send to people. We're not like shooting people in DMs, but I like that analogy, right? There's only so many bullets you get. You want to make sure they go to the right people, because that allows you to get in front of more people, get more responses, get more meetings booked. Get it? Cool. So the last piece of all of this is setter. Having a human in the loop. And look, like, I would absolutely love it if AI could 100% automate all this, but I tried it and I tried it. And every time AI was left doing stuff by itself, it was just burning target, total addressable target market for us. It was reaching out to people in the wrong way. And then when we put a setter in the loop, this is something that innately understands DM marketing psychology to, open conversations with the right questions, progress them into qualifying, understand if there's a gap or a need, and then finally into suggesting a meeting. And that is the one flow that we use, as I said, to book 30 plus calls per month from one LinkedIn profile, which led to that 34K. Super simple, guys. It's boring system. It shouldn't be exciting. It shouldn't be complicated. It should be something boring and easy that your team members or you can basically complete and get results, get predictable, reliable results at the end of the day. No funny business, no messing. Final piece of all this. And if you miss this, everything we've done up to this point potentially will be for nothing. The fourth layer is pre-warmed call process. And this is actually something that I only really implemented 6 months ago. Because just because you book somebody in does not mean that they're going to buy from you, right? They're just curious. So how do you actually bridge that gap? Because this is the gap in the buyer's head, right? They've got their shitty current reality, and then they've got their desired reality. And that's the reason they're here, right? They've got some problems they want to solve and they want to move towards them. But there's a trust gap. They have to believe that you can actually solve this. So how do you bridge this? Well, the positioning has done that to a level. It's got them in. The content has also done probably 90% of the selling at this point. So how do you basically add up that final 10%? Well, you need to do this. You need a pre-warmed call process, which means that they're actually going to show up to the call and actually potentially want to work with you. So what does that actually look like? So your call gets booked. Now we use Go Higher Level as our CRM. Go Higher Level fires them to a qualify page, and it's basically going to ask them some questions. Like how committed are you to moving forwards? If you did have the right system when you're really looking to get started, do they have money? Or if you haven't qualified that in DMs already, then you can get them to sort of understand where they are, like what's their ARR range, where are they at, like monthly recurring revenue, so you can sign a bracket, like where they are at the moment. Then it comes down to commitment and capital. The next piece there, pre-call assets. Holy smokes, this is so important. It's bridging that gap, the final bit between where they are and where they want to go, and they believe that you can get them there to pre-sell them. And these assets are super simple. Like I've got a video where like you can go and funnel hack me. You can go through to my offer. You can go and see, and I've got a video where I outline my offer and I outline what we're going to go over on the call. Call agenda. No CEO, high-level business person wants to waste their time. You need to know what it's going to be about. And then the next piece here is like, this should do like 90% of the selling. Like I attach my client assets to this. I attach client results or talk about results similar to agency owners. So when they come to the call, they're already pretty much there, right? The next piece here is, and this is so highly leveraged, guys, and somebody's gonna laugh. Confirm the meeting. Confirm it. Good Lord. I used to have a show rate of 70%, and I did this and I went to 90, right? We can do some maths on this later, why this matters so much. But ultimately, it just led to me closing more deals without even having any more call volume. Because if you don't confirm them and it doesn't go into your calendar, it doesn't matter if you've done the positioning, the content system, the outbound. If they don't show up, how the fuck are you going to sell them anything? How are you going to help them, right? This is so important, right? And that's how you go from a 70%, 90% show rate. And that, like, even if you did that one thing in this whole flow, it would pay for itself as it stands. Although this is for free, so there you go. And then before the day, we're going to do some things. We're going to send them some email. We're going to do like social proof, drip, you know, understanding who we've helped, like them, social drip. Good Lord. When they get to the day of the call, we're going to send them a reminder, then another reminder before the call gets there. Because look, as I said, if they don't show up, all of this was for absolutely nothing. There we go. There we have it. Now let's get into some of like the science, if you will, behind this. And this is one thing that I like, because I'm fully aware that when I used to think about pre-warm call book funnels, I was just like, oh, that sounds kind of boring. Why would anybody, you know, want to like improve that? This is where the pre-warmed call funnel really comes into play. Because look, if I think about my old state affairs, and this is what really led to these results, and one of the most important pieces, I've got a 30% close rate on average. Although this month was about like 50%, but on average, it's usually about 30%. Before, I was getting a 50% show rate. Well, actually, no, I was getting a 70%, but let's just say, like, for the sake of maths, when I mapped this out, it was easier for me to map this, right? And if you had 10 ops, you're probably going to get 1.5 clients, right? Actually, let's scratch all of that, right? I'm going to show you why show rate matters so much. Because, like, if you are in this position at the moment where you had a 30% close rate, a 50% show rate, that means that from 10 ops, you're going to get 1.5 clients signed. But if you manage to get them to bump the show rate, you can close more without changing anything about your sales process, anything about your funnel. Because even with the same close rate, let's say that you're at 30% close rate, and then you went up to a 75% show rate, that will mean that on 10 ops, you're going to fucking double your growth. You're going to get 2.25 clients, right? That's a +1 client with 0 change to close rate. So there you have it, the full system, right? The boring system. All right, let's just recap this. If you're looking to gain an edge in 2026 in the market, founder-led brand system is one of the only ways to really drive forwards and drive high growth in 2026. So if you're stuck right now, let's just sum up. We go through, we want to map out your positioning. That comes down to your POV. That comes down to the ways in which you want to solve your problems for your clients and how they think you're different. Old way versus new way. Then you want to build a founder-led content funnel, because you need to attract the right people to you and ultimately bridge that trust gap. The final piece here, look, we want to add outbound. We need to start conversations with people without waiting them to get in touch with us, to get predictability. And finally, we need to make sure that they show up to the call and they're pre-warmed. That is it, guys. That is the boring system that allowed me to generate $34,000 in 4 days. Now, if you got some value from this video, make sure you slam the subscribe button somewhere here. I release videos like this every single week on how to build predictable founder-led sales systems on LinkedIn, and you might check me out on LinkedIn as well. I release daily content there too. If you're curious about, you know, how we can actually implement this into your business in a timeline of 90 days, so you can move towards, you know, 5 to 10 deals a month, you can book a call from the description. It's somewhere here. Go through funnel hack, look at my funnel as well, because that will also give you some juice. Or if you're on LinkedIn, send me a DM.